and welcome back to Team Spirit. I'm Carrie.
And I'm Lauren.
And I'm Emily.
So today we're going to be talking about gratitude, and it's such a simple yet such a profound thing to be incorporating into your daily life and your daily practices. So who wants to get us started on talking about gratitude?
So I've been reading this book called Get Rich, Lucky Bitch, and it's about money blocks and like clearing money blocks and stuff. And in it, she talks about how just because you don't have the amount of money that you want in the bank, it doesn't mean that you're broke or poor. You know, look around you. I look around and I'm like, I'm not broke or poor. My bank account may not have exactly what it is that I want, but I have so much to be grateful for. I have a shelter over my head. I have clothes on my back, food in my stomach, water to drink and bathe in. And I have anything and everything that I could ever want or need. The fact that I'm able to leave my corporate job and enter into this journey is I'm blessed to be able to do that. So it's like I have a very rich life. The people in my life, you guys, I feel silly now being like, oh, I'm so poor, I'm so broke, I'm so this and so that, because I'm not at all. True people living in poverty would be like, what the actual fuck? Like, fuck off, you know? I don't know. It blows me away. It really does. And I think that gratitude is one of the most simple and hardest things to have and to be, because society teaches us that nothing is ever enough. We don't have enough things. We don't look good enough. We don't feel the best enough. It's all about consuming. It's never enough. And that makes gratitude hard. But when you really sit with it, it's like, damn, I do have a lot. I don't like to use the term lucky because I don't believe that anything's luck, but I'm blessed. How do you guys feel about it?
I feel like gratitude is such an important tool to have in general, because I mean, all three of us have been very vocal about our struggles with mental health and what led us to the points where we are in our practices. And I feel like it's almost like the more evolved you get in your practice, the further you are away from that simple thing that like kind of starts everything in the spiritual world. Like it's like the catalyst of what spirituality truly is. And I feel like you have to be conscious and proactive in really truly remembering everything that you have. I feel like it's the key for manifestation.
Yeah.
I feel like it's the key to happiness. I feel like it's the key to living in the present moment, because there is not one anxiety attack or one depressive episode. And I'm not talking about like a whole episode, but like in that moment where if you don't focus your attention on gratitude, that you can't snap your brain out of that spiral.
Yep.
Because it's so powerful. And I think it gets you in that place of accepting where you are now. And it's not like you're accepting it and you're going to stay in that place. Of course, it's always good to have goals and ambitions and drive, but without gratitude, that's a very important recipe into what you're building into your future.
Yes.
So I am horrible with journaling. I will be the first one to admit it. I absolutely suck. I think it's my ADD. Like I can't freaking sit down and write anything. But one thing I do that I've been trying to do more of is the first thing I do when I wake up in the morning, before I even grab my phone or look through TikTok, scroll through Facebook, I just kind of lay there for a minute and I just go through the things in my head that I'm really grateful for.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, of course, it's a lot of the same things every day, but I also find new things that I'm grateful for. Like it challenges me to think outside of the box as far as like my friends, my family, my house, all that. It's like there's even the simplest things, like waking up and having my favorite cup of coffee is something to be grateful for. So it's like such a broad scope. And when you can put yourself in that frame of mind, it just shifts everything.
It does.
It shifts your entire perspective, and it makes you more open to manifest the things that you want to bring into your life. Because if you can accept where you are, then then you see where you're heading. And
Yeah.
that's like, it's the trifecta of manifestation. You can't manifest shit without having gratitude for where you are now. So it's definitely, I have to improve in how I bring gratitude into my everyday life and into my practice, but it's definitely a work in progress, and it truly is. It's so profound.
Yeah.
Well, and starting your day like that, I mean, I am sure that the majority of us, myself included, the first thing we do is we grab our phones and we're either starting off our mindset with work and all the things we need to do, or we're looking at social media, which is full of fake things. It is full of this perfect, because what we're putting out there is edited or planned, but that's not reality. So we're starting off our day on this note of, I need to be better. And that's a horrible way to start your day. It just is. And it doesn't matter how blessed you are, when you start your day like that, you're just like, well, I'm already behind.
Yep. Yeah. And then information overload, like our phones, oh my gosh. And you're just, like you said, seeing what everybody else is doing, and you're not even your own reality. You're just you're in everybody else's reality.
Which isn't even reality.
Yeah. It's a hard habit to break.
Like, that's not real.
Yeah. But as far as like gratitude goes with bringing it into my practice, I always, when I do like my Reiki sessions specifically, I always try to incorporate some sort of gratitude in with like the opening meditation that we do, or the grounding that we do, because I just think it really reframes people energetically, mentally, emotionally. It's really amazing for that. And I want to start journaling, but we'll see. Journaling
can be really hard. I find myself, I'm better at it when it follows something I've been doing. So if I'm doing like a ritual, or I took a bath for one of the moons or something, when I'm done, the first thing I do, first of all, I always bring it with me. So I have it as soon as I'm done, and then I can write down, and I just kind of start with what I did or what I was feeling. Or sometimes even before my practice, I'll write down the things that I brought with me, the things that I use, the things that I will do for it, and then I journal after. So I'm not having to like sit back and be like, what the hell did I just do? I already had that done, and I can just think about my feelings and whatever. That's the easiest way for me to journal, because when I'm not doing something before it, I usually don't do it. It's hard. It's very hard to take a minute for yourself. Everybody struggles with it.
And then even to like step outside of that, and it's like, how often do we tell the people in our life how thankful and grateful we are?
Right.
Not nearly as enough as we should, because that can just, somebody could really be going through something that you might not be aware of, but if they know that they have an impact in your life in some way, I mean, that in and of itself can just totally transform somebody's whole ass day.
Right.
And it's like, showing people that you're grateful for them, communicating that you're grateful for them, it does so much good for both parties involved. And I was thinking, as you were talking, we watched this movie. What was the movie called?
The Secret.
So,
I've heard about that.
Yeah. So we watched it because, we're trying to like manifest. And there was this guy, one of like the things that really stood out for me was there was a guy on there that was talking about a gratitude rock. So he literally found a rock, nothing special, just a rock, and he carried it around with him every day in his pocket. And throughout the day, he would take a moment and grab the rock and hold it in his hand and really think about all the things that he was grateful for. And he would do that multiple times a day, every single day for, I don't know, months and months and months. And I mean, I just like, it blows my mind, like how that rock was probably like that frequency of that rock was just like out of this world. And somebody, he met somebody along the way when he was doing this gratitude rock thing. And this person that he met, he was explaining about his gratitude rock. He's like, this is what I've been doing. It's been really helping me with my mental health. And the guy ended up emailing him and was like, hey, somebody in my family's really sick. Can you send me a gratitude rock? And the guy was like, it's literally just a rock, but he made a multi-million-dollar business on selling these rocks that they called gratitude rock. And it's like, you can make that really anything. It's like, that is how powerful gratitude is.
Wait, can I tell you guys a really funny story? So sorority sisters in college. Her therapist told her the same thing. And she went out and she found this perfect rock and she had it in her pocket and she was carrying it around. And by the end of the day, she realized it was gum.
Oh my God.
Because it was
Right.
so cold. Like it was winter time. And
Oh
so it was frozen.
That
Ew.
is so gross, but hilarious.
But I bet it had the effect. I
Yeah.
mean,
She was like, it was the
You were
thought that
fine.
counts. And I just went and I found a new rock and I made sure it was the rock.
yeah.
Wow.
But
Oh,
But
gosh.
also, I had this book and I can't remember what it was called. I'll look it up later to give it credit because when I was deep in my depression, when I didn't even realize my reactions were from anxiety, I was depressed. And one of the things in this book was saying how you put 5 things that you love or each finger. And when you were just feeling hopeless or sad, you think of those things, you pick one and you go get it. And so they're just 5 things you never forget because they're like labeled to each finger. And that's really helpful in thinking of the 5 things that you have available to you at pretty much any time because they're things that are most important to you. And you have 5 things to be grateful for that can get you out of these feelings that you have. And even if it's like a person and they're not close, we all have cell phones. We have
Right.
email, we can text, you know? And that was, I think, one of the tools that really stuck out to me when I was trying to figure out what I was doing that made a huge difference of me being like, I'm grateful for these things.
Yeah, it helps every time. When I was working at a childcare center, we would, I mean, I guess it's a little different, but it would change the whole energy of the room during nap time, especially after like a really hard day. And I mean, I worked in the 18-month-old room.
Oh,
so
God.
Mm.
The worst
we had
age. Sorry,
9.
but
Yeah,
it is.
we had 9 of them. So we would sit there and name 3 things, 3 positive things about each child. And it was amazing how at the end of that, the energy shift in the room. And it's like even the children who were sleeping could feel that shift because it's like throughout the rest of the day, they were so much better.
Wow.
And it was like, because we just sat there and said, okay, Susie is really smart and really funny and she's really bubbly and Johnny is so artistic and he can make you smile and he's so empathetic with his friend. You know what I mean? Like each, even they were holy terrors that day. And some of them, it was harder than others, you know, depending on the day, but it changed everything for the rest of the day, the tone of the day. So, I mean, I know that's not like gratitude, but it's finding.
It is, though.
I think it absolutely is. I mean, gratitude is a mindset, and that is what makes it so difficult because to stay in that positivity and is so freaking hard.
It is.
And I think it's one of those things we have to be, it's a conscious feeling where
Yes.
sadness comes naturally with things that are occurring in us. Happiness happens as a reaction, but gratitude is a conscious thought that we have to have.
Right.
Yeah, and we choose to have. And
Right.
when like do you guys find that you do put yourselves in situations to force yourselves to be grateful for things? Like do you guys do that at all?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Even when I was working in the corporate America, I would force myself to be like, okay, well, at least you have a job.
Right.
At least you have someone coming in. At least, you know, you work with really good people. At least you have Lauren and Carrie. You know what I mean?
Yes.
At least you met so and like it just, yeah. All the time I would force myself. The drive sucks. Well, at least you have a car to get there.
Yeah.
At
You
least
have that time to
Yeah.
listen to your music and settle yourself before you got there. Yeah.
Yeah, and I had a really profound read. I think Lauren was there for that earlier today on my live.
Yes.
And the point of it, I'm not gonna
Right.
talk about, but when I'm reading people, it's like you don't know the energy. I don't know you. These are people on TikTok. These are people I've never met. Most of them, I've never talked to them. I know nothing about them, and so you have to go in with a mindset of like totally neutral. So you never really know like what's going to come out, what's going to unfold. The way that spirit works is so incredible. The way that spirit moves through not even just the person, not even just through me, not even just through the person I'm reading, but through the community, everybody watching, everybody interacting. And I had a moment of gratitude. I think I texted you, Lauren, after that reading, and I said, this reading is exactly why I do what I do. And I forget that sometimes because now is not just a development or something that's love and I'm intrigued in and I'm practicing. It is now my work. And work, no matter what, even if you love it, even if it's your passion in life, it's still going to be work sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's like, that was an incredible moment of gratitude for me, and a reminder of why I did all of this in the beginning to start. And I think gratitude helps you to remember your why. And we tend to forget that a lot. Like, why witchcraft for you? Why your practice for you? Why mediumship and psychism? You know what I mean? Like, we forget. And sometimes as human beings, it's hard for us to really take ourselves out of our own shoes and really be faced with what somebody is really truly going through. We have no idea. We have no idea. So yeah, I might be stressed out and I have a lot on my plate right now and I'm balancing a lot, but there's people out there that are going through things that are so heartbreaking
and unconscionable
and unconscionable thing that, and I'm grateful that I know what heartbreak is, but right now in this moment, I don't have that. I don't have that heartbreak. I don't have that sheer fear and panic and anxiety. So it's like, we all help each other with gratitude too. And then, but then how can we be there for that person? How can we lift that person up? How can we support them? How can we shower them with love? And that's, I mean, it makes me emotional because that's what it's all about.
And you do it with such grace. I mean, earlier I felt overwhelmed with chaos before everything, because it can be a lot when there's a lot of people in there and there's a lot of comments flying. And especially when people have been there and they're watching you and they're like, I need this person. Like I am being drawn to you because I need to hear something from you. And it's just, you really give people this immediate grace and gratitude for them being there. And I think that makes the biggest difference, because it gives them a moment to calm down and be able to be there fully for you to give your message. And also to be, correct me if I'm wrong, but it probably puts them in a way that's easier to read and feel for you guys to get that message. And that was very cool to see you be able to offer that to your listeners. It's very,
well, I appreciate that. But it's like, but the way that the community, I feel like as a whole, we all played a part in helping that person.
That was a beautiful chat that was happening for her.
I went back and read it, and I mean, it was just
and there was a lot of people who I've never seen their names before.
No, me either.
Like, they could have been so whatever, like first time there, and just stopped in and said the most horrible things just because they want to, because people do that. And everybody was just so kind. And to you, to her, to people in there, like that was a really beautiful moment. It was cool.
Yeah. So it's those moments where I'm like, be grateful for what you're able to do and how you're able to hold space. And then how do I hold space for myself too? You know what I mean?
That's when we were done. That's why I sent you those hearts, because I was like, that had to be so much for you. And I can only imagine you gave so much, and to also know that I see you and I see that had to have taken a lot out. And don't forget that you need this too, and you need that moment after you just gave so much.
And that's where I'm also grateful for Spirit, because they, in those moments, if it's me, if it's you, if it's Emily, where when things really get really difficult and we're having really difficult conversations and we're talking about real trauma, real seated trauma, that I know that Spirit's on the other end holding space for everybody and raising the vibration of the room. I knew in that moment that my team's got my back, her team's got her back. I was confident, because with the topic we were talking about, you never know what's going to pop in. I felt so protected in that. And I know that she did too. And I mean, there's so much. I'm grateful for Spirit. I can't even begin to say how grateful I am for Spirit, because Spirit helps give me the strength to be able to be a neutral. I feel like it's so important to be neutral in moments like that, when somebody's something that is very difficult and traumatic, to be neutral, because you don't want to be emotional either. Like, you don't want to, I don't feel like that helps in certain situations. You have empathy and compassion, you know, as the psychic or the medium or the practitioner, to be breaking down in front of your client I don't think
mean,
that's
you
for
right.
anybody.
Right.
And especially when they need the stabilizer, they feel like they are so helpless and they're relying on you to, and of course, to shed a tear or two because you feel for them. That's one thing, but to not be able to hold yourself up
And you-
is another.
I'm sure you get all kinds of crazy people now on TikTok, Lauren, like all these readers, and it's wild out there, man. It is the wild.
It's a freaking, yep, I was just gonna say, it's the Wild West.
Yeah. Oh
It's
my
crazy.
God.
It's crazy.
It is
And
crazy.
I when I try and mod for you guys, I try to give space because I'm like, I don't want to jump on these people too fast and be like, hey, knock it off. Because there's a lot of people out there that I do not have the patience for, but you have met with grace and then I've been wrong. No, but I've been wrong about this person that I would be like, you're done. And so, and I'll hold my breath in some things because I'm like, what is this person going to say next? Is this person going to be a safe space? And sometimes they're definitely not, and they gotta go. But there's been so many that have proven opposite, and it's just, and I think it's just their feelings and their emotions because of what they're going through. And we all, when we're emotional, we're not our best selves. And that's fine. We can't always be our best selves, and we're human and we're all emotional. So God knows I am. I cry all the freaking time.
Well, that's where I think I would love to, and I would love to get like the audience's, the listeners' perspective on this too. But one thing I really want to talk about in a later episode is the ego, because I think that's a really important one, and I think the ego gets a really bad rep sometimes.
Yes.
But I feel like the ego is also very important and necessary in a lot of circumstances. And we need those checks and balances.
Yes.
We need those checks and balances. And the ego is, sometimes it can be totally irrational, but other times it can be very logical, and it is something that will protect you.
Yep.
You just have to use your own discernment in that. So definitely want to talk about that. But yeah, gratitude. I mean, it's a whole ass.
Do you ever notice, like, when you wake up in a grateful mood, even things such as you get all the green lights?
Oh, yeah.
You get all the people letting you go.
Yes.
You get, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The way that the day just flows.
It flows.
And when I'm in a shit mood, every red light, people breaking in front of me,
because we're bringing that energy.
Right.
Yeah. And even if we start off in a shit mood, we can still control the rest of our day by pumping our brakes and being like, you know what? I'm not really giving my best here. And maybe I should, I don't know, think about myself. Just give myself a minute.
And I also want to say too, don't gaslight yourself either, because I had to do that.
Yeah.
Where I will be having like a terrible day and I'm like ranting and raving, and then I'll say to myself, get with it, like look at everything you have and blah blah blah.
Right.
And it's like, that's not the message here. The message is have to allow ourselves to feel the thing. The more we resist the things to feel, the longer we hold on to them, right?
And the harder it is to heal.
And you also, with gratitude, you also have to acknowledge what you're feeling, even if it's a quote unquote negative emotion. What is a negative emotion?
Right.
Like, what even is that?
Right.
You know what I mean? And an emotion is an emotion.
Right.
And we have to acknowledge it, and we have to let it flow through us, and we have to release it. And then that's when gratitude is able to come in. But gratitude can't come in those moments where you're beating yourself up and telling you that you have everything. What the hell? Like, you can't gaslight yourself either. I'm definitely key of that.
Same. It's toxic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because we're not going to be toxic positive bitches on this.
No. Oh God, no. Yes. There is something to be said for toxic positivity.
Yeah.
I mean, and that was one thing I didn't learn until later. And I realized I know I have toxic positive people in my life, and they are that's the hardest thing to recognize. And to be like, this isn't for me, and it's okay to have a bad day, to be sad, to be mad. You cannot trick yourself into every day being perfect, because when you do, when things actually implode, you're going to implode. You can't handle it because you've been pretending that you're inhuman this whole time. And that is so dangerous. So dangerous. And that is, you'll get knocked on your ass so quick by acting like that. You gotta humble yourself.
You have to.
I mean, if somebody comes to you with a serious situation, I would really hope that you wouldn't be like, well, what are you grateful for?
Right.
I mean, that's not the gratitude we're talking about here.
I think a really important part about talking about having space is also being fine with not needing or having or giving a response. Not everything needs to have a response, especially when you're talking with someone else about their trauma, their hurt, their feelings. You don't have to give a positive feedback. You don't have to. And it's I think that's a really hard thing for people to do, because we all love to give our opinions and responses. But I just had this conversation with a friend yesterday. I mean, there's so much that's happening right now in the world, and she is incredibly affected by it. And it's not something that I share with her religiously. And so I asked her, like, if do you want a response from me, or do you just need to talk? And because, like, this is your space, this is your safe space between us. And if you don't want me to say anything, I won't. And that's a really, I've had that conversation. I've come home, especially when I was in the corporate world, and I would come home just a ruckus, an absolute mess. And Mark would be like, do you want a response? Or was this just you talking? And like the first time he said that, I was like, yeah, I think I just needed to talk. I don't need you to say something.
Right.
Really, what's happening with your camera is so funny right now.
Is it zooming in and out? It's spirit.
It stopped, but that was hysterical.
The one time she was in class, so her iPad zooms, like when you move, it's supposed to follow you.
Right.
And we were in class, and it kept zooming to like a spot on the couch where she wasn't.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, oh God, who's there? Who's next to her?
Oh God.
But that's a really good point. And you know what's funny is I've even talked about that with my mom, because like my mom a really good advice giver. Like she's really good. And she would say, like, over the years, she would notice that like when somebody would come to her with something and she would give advice, she picked up on the vibe that maybe it was not wanted. And she has a really good habit when a friend comes to her wanting to vent, because everybody just needs to vent sometimes. She'll ask, are you looking for my advice, or do you just need to listen? And they'll be like, oh, we just want you to listen. And and that's what she'll do. But I think because a lot of us are people pleasers, and we want so badly to lift people up and help people see the bright side, and there is beauty in that. There is, but sometimes we need to be where we're at, and we can't get to that place until we experience what we're experiencing right now. Love that. And that's a really good something to think about for us and for the listeners too, of how are you holding space for the people in your life that are coming to you, and how are you being not so much reactive to the information they're giving you, but really sitting with it. Sometimes we just need some help in sitting with whatever it is that we're going through, and not so much the advice or the perspective.
And how are people holding space for you? Like, are you getting what you need? Are you getting unnecessary opinions and comments and advice when really all you want is for someone to listen? Are you setting those boundaries? Are you setting, you know what I mean? It's also about self-respect. You know, are you allowing people to tear you down when you're just venting, or are you saying, look, I just need you to listen? How are you standing up for yourself in those moments as well?
I agree.
And in some places we shouldn't have an opinion, because it's not ours to have. There's people have different experiences, and it's okay if you don't have it. Her experience is so different from mine, and no matter how I feel about what's happening, I don't have space to really give my feedback to her on her feelings and her reactions, because I'm not part of that community. It's not mine, it's hers. And I think that's also, I think, especially when it comes to allyship, people have confusion when it comes to using your voice. You use your voice to be an ally, but you have to leave space for them first. Part of being an ally is your silence of your safe space for them. Like, it is for them to talk. It's not about you.
Then you're
not an ally. Like, you're just being intrusive.
And it's also their journey, and it's their job to come to that conclusion. It's that's a part of their growth to come to the perception change or whatever that is. It's not for you it's not like you're going to say, oh, but look at it this way, blah, 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 blah. And they're just going to be so enlightened, and all their problems are just going to fade away. They have to get there. Like that that's something that we have to do for ourselves. It's not something that somebody can offer to us.
Right.
And I think, it's one of those things when people do come to you, like, to loop it back to gratitude, is that just because you feel like you're not offering your voice and you're not giving your thoughts, and maybe that doesn't feel very good, you can feel grateful that they felt safe with you, that you were a safe space to them, and that most likely in return, they're a safe space for you too. And that's a nice thing to have. And that is something to be very grateful for those safe spaces.
Absolutely. I love that.
Me too.
Yeah. I did want to tell you guys one thing that I do to trick myself into gratitude.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Because I don't know. I have a very hard time trying, like, putting myself in that headspace. I don't know why, but I just do. I'm human. And I will put myself in situations where I'm forced to just be with me. And I think that is why I do long distance running. I am sometimes out there for hours, and I will force myself to go a way where I can only get back the way I came. There is no calling for help. I mean, like, obviously an emergency, like, I could be got into, but to get back, I have to be grateful for the ability that I was able to get out there in the first place. And like, it's those, you can trick yourself into it without being that toxic positivity. When you put yourself into those situations where you're making yourself uncomfortable, and there's something to be said for that. And gratitude comes with that time and time again. And so many times, every time I go out or I'm like, I don't want to do this, there is always some sort of sign that slaps me upside the head and is like, you were supposed to be here, you're supposed to be doing this, and you should be grateful that you are, and recognize that. And then I go, you're right, I'm grateful to be here.
It's hitting that live button for the first time.
Oh yeah, and probably every time after, I'm sure. I mean, I know a lot of people. I do this. I use music to get myself through things. I've had to have meetings with bosses where I had to stand up for myself, and I had my amethyst in one hand, my rose quartz in the other, and I danced in my office to Taylor Swift, and then I sat my ass down, and I was very to be professional, but I then had the what I needed to put down my boundary of, this is what I need, this is what I want. And I think we do that in time and time again with different things, with different tools to get us to do the things that we want to do.
Yeah. And the human condition is so funny, because it's like, I know I can speak for Emily on this too, but we were not happy in our previous roles and in our previous job. And, it was more so not feeling fulfilled, because obviously we had to do something very, very different.
Yeah.
And we're watching everybody else go on live, and we're like, oh my gosh, that looks like that's what we need to do. And we knew that wholeheartedly, and we're anticipating it, and we're planning, and we're strategizing, and we're doing all the things, and we're so excited, and we're talking about it. And oh my gosh, it's just so much fun. And then it happens. And it's like, oh my God, what do we make the biggest mistake of our life?
Yes.
Like, and that's just a part of being human. And that is okay. And we go on, and it's like, you have to show up for yourself.
Yeah.
Gratitude helps fight the fear.
Right. Yes, it does. Yep.
It'll push you through. It'll get you to hit that live button. It'll get you to run that cross country long distance. That's what gets you there is, well, damn it, if I don't have 2 feet that I can fucking run and do this for myself, and mobile, and I have full use my whole body.
Yeah.
The time, if I was still working in my corporate job, I wouldn't have time to train like the way I am. And so I'm like, and then I might not have this forever. And so damn, I'm going to use it now. That's what drives me to almost all the things. This is an opportunity. This is a moment in time that I have, and I shouldn't waste it. What am I going to do with it?
I think a really good way to end is to go around, and what is the one thing that you are the most grateful for right now?
The one? Oh boy. You guys go first. I need to think.
I'm grateful for time.
Me too.
I was just going to say this moment in time, and all the moments that come when they just feel like they were meant for me, and the things that come. I think it is time.
It's time.
Yeah.
Because time's not promised.
Right.
And time is not in the society that we live in. It's not abundant.
No.
Time is
and it's not respected.
No.
Especially where we live, where we're in a area where it is all hustle, and time is not respected by other people. And a lot of time we don't respect our own time. And having that feeling and to be grateful for the time that we have, it is so special. Oof, that is, I love that we all agreed on that. We're all like, it's time. It's time.
People would agree with that. Especially when you've gone through periods of your life where there wasn't enough of it and you were missing out time with your family, time with yourself, with your friends, time for your hobbies. And then you have it. And then you really have to, again, shift yourself into that mindset of that is wealth. To have time is wealth. Yeah. Well, we hope you all enjoyed listening today. Make sure you take some time to reflect on the things that you're grateful for, especially the one thing that you're really grateful for right now. And always remember that gratitude is such an empowering tool that no matter whatever it is that you're going through in your life, if you're able to really sit with yourself and feel that, and I think feeling it is the most important thing, not just listing everything, but feeling that gratitude, it can really turn things around. It can turn your day around. We love you all.
And don't forget to follow us, rate our episodes, find us on Instagram, TikTok at Team Spirit Podcast. Leave us a comment. Tell us what you're grateful for. Carrie and Emily are both on TikTok Live. You can find Emily at Enchanted Mystic by MK and Carrie at Clarity by Cam, CAM. Thanks, guys. Till next time.